That's a nice looking shot of the Keeneland paddock. Okay. Pat, what time do you have downstairs officially?
Tom Gallo talks about racing partnerships.
It allows you to have an ownership interest in an athlete, in a professional athlete that doesn't renegotiate his contract, doesn't become a free agent. We're talking about horses. We're talking about the beauty and the athleticism of these wonderful athletes. I want to bring more people into this. I'm saying to myself, listen, you got to try this. You got to try it. This is great. This is fantastic.
Join Saratoga's original racing partnership. Visit us online at partingglassracing.com.
This is the OTB Television Network.
Forth, and the field turns for home, and it's Wandering Boy in front, and Curlin with a final try for that lead as they come down to the mid-stretch marker, and Curlin has taken the lead. It is Curlin now in front. Wandering Boy fights on. He's a half length behind in second, and then farther back, it's Merchant Marine third, and here he is, Curlin, under the wire, beyond cigar, and into the records books.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. Along with my colleague Mike VIETCH, the racing columnist with the Saratogian, I'm Mark CUSANO, welcoming you to our first show of the month of October on a clear and chilly morning, and we have got a very busy program for you this morning. We're going to recap 15 major stakes races from the last week, all with Breeders' Cup implications. We'll be joined by Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith, who will talk to you about two of his favorite females. We'll have an update for you on jockey John Velasquez, and we'll talk about the retirement of a very popular racehorse. So all of that and much, much more if you stay with us for this, our October 4th edition of the program, which is being sponsored by Parting Glass Racing. Partner, good morning.
Well, good morning to you.
How are you?
Lovely day.
Yeah.
Lovely time of year for horse racing fans. And right off a great weekend. Last weekend, there's some pretty interesting racing today as well, which we won't get to too much in detail, but it's a great time to be a horse racing fan.
Going to be a nice weekend of racing, particularly some races on this afternoon's card. Again, a very busy show. Let's get right to it. Last week we mentioned this to you, a special promotion here at Capital OTB for those of you who wager $2,500, at least $2,500, in your Capital Bets account between September 15th and October 15th. And you show up for that Breeders' Cup celebration party at the Albany Teletheater on October 25th, you will be eligible to get a piece of Steve Christ's $5,000 Breeders' Cup Pick 6 ticket on, of course, the Saturday. You know, I have to be careful. I keep saying Breeders' Cup Day. It's now, Breeders' Cup Days. The Saturday Breeders' Cup Day. So be aware of that. $2,500 bet into your account between September 15th and October 15th, and you must attend that Breeders' Cup celebration. Also, Capital will be having a Breeders' Cup seminar at the Teletheater, and that will be on Wednesday, October 22nd at 6:30, so mark that down on your calendar. A very popular racehorse has been retired. And to be honest with you, I thought he would outdo us. I really thought we'd be gone. You're taking a look at Evening Attire, the popular 10-year-old trained by Pat Kelly. He's been retired due to a minor ankle injury. He raced for 8 years, winning 15 of 69 starts. He was in the money 40 times. The biggest victory had to be the 2002 Jockey Club Gold Cup. He earned nearly $3 million, and his off-the-pace running style I think it made him that much more popular.
Well, he's one of the most popular horses in New York in really quite some time. You got to know him well because he showed up so many times. All the tracks he raced at, all of the big three in New York. Had quite a long talk with Mr. Kelly, the owner, one of the owners this past week, and asked him the obvious, put him in perspective. He said, this guy meant everything to me in life. He means everything to me that my sons trained him. And he was the equal of me winning the inaugural Woodward way back in 1954 with Pet Bully. So much more to say about him. I wish we had the time. This is truly, really one of my favorite career stories, following this horse and knowing his family this well. And one quick thing, if you go back and look at his sire, whom Mr. Kelly really wanted to go to, it's funny how things work out. His sire was a very similar lanky gray who liked to be in front, and son liked to be from behind.
Yeah, certainly did.
So,
good and bad news concerning jockey John Velasquez. Fortunately, most of it is good. First of all, Johnny scored career victory number 4,000 last Sunday here in New York, so congratulations on that. If you saw it yesterday in an awful-looking spill at Keeneland, Johnny went down. We just got off the phone with his agent, Angel Cordero. Johnny did suffer a concussion, but the good news is no fractures. He is scheduled to be released from the hospital later today. Now, he will have to go see his specialist, and they will have to stay on top of this concussion situation, because obviously that can be dangerous. But overall, if you saw that spill, to say that he's had no fractures, he's a lucky young man
very happy
right
for you,
now.
John.
So let's hope for the best. Congratulations to jockey Garrett Gomez, who scored career victory number 3,000. And in fact, you're going to see it later on in the program. Garrett scored it in the Oak Tree Mile. All right, a couple of emails quickly from Danielle. Danielle was very interested in a colt that she had seen at the auction in Saratoga a year ago, colt by Unbridled Song out of Reboletta. And she told us the colt was sold to John Ferguson, which means that, the colt is going to go to Darley or Godolphin. Well, Danielle, we really did work hard on this. Our associate producer, Julie Hoxie, called Kieran McLaughlin. He doesn't have the colt. She called Tommy Albertrani. He doesn't have the colt. I checked with a couple of our colleagues. Kyle Brownell found a half-brother to this colt by the name of Fire Lookout, and Gene Wood found that the colt is nominated to the Breeders' Cup, but he's unnamed. So, Danielle, we really did work hard on this. It wasn't for a lack of trying, but he could be anywhere. He could be in Dubai with Saeed bin Saror. The only person we weren't able to get who could have him was Owen Hardy. Okay. Danielle, thank you. And from Glenn down in Louisiana, Glenn said, wouldn't it be great if a couple of New York-based journalists would come to Delta Downs on its supreme night of racing? Glenn's talking about the Delta Jackpot and the Delta Princess. It's not that far away. Unfortunately, December is not that far away. Good Lord. Friday, December 5th. And Glenn particularly enjoyed the interview with John Ward. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you, Danielle. For those of you who would like to correspond with us here at Down the Stretch, here are the ways in which you can do that. Through the United States Postal Service, Down the Stretch. Mark and Mike, Capital District OTB, 510 Smith, Schenectady 12305, or electronically at viewermail at capitalotb.com. Let's get to the races. 15 major stakes to review, and we're going to start with the highlight from the week past, that being the Jockey Club Gold Cup, run over a sealed, sloppy track at Belmont Park, and the big horse going for history is number 5, Curlin. With a victory in here, he would surpass Cigar, and he would surpass the $10 million mark in career earnings. Curlin would obviously have to overcome both the surface and the bias, and it did appear that this racetrack, for the most part, was helping carry speed. And in front right now is a good, solid racehorse who normally loves wet tracks, and that's Wanderin' Boy, a 7-year-old who 2 years ago had run second to Bernardini in this very same race. And over this type of racetrack, Wanderin' Boy could be somewhat tough. Right now, sitting in 5th is Curlin. And in a moment, you are going to see the 3-year-old Mambo in Seattle. He just went by him. Robbie sat chilly. He rode with great patience, and he rode with great confidence. At this point, he said he didn't want to go around the dead horse on the outside of him and get too wide, so he bided his time. You see him respond nicely. Robbie's not asking him, but he's picking up horses here. He's going to collar the leaders turning for home, and Curlin is going to go on to a 3/4 length victory over Wandering Boy, and in the process become North America's all-time leading money winner. Partner, even though he only won this by 3/4, I actually like this performance better than I like the Woodward.
Well, I'll start with the Woodward. I hope the people who didn't like the Woodward watch this race. I hope the doubters after the Woodward watch this race. Number of things I'd like to say here. He did win it easier, I think, than he did the Woodward. It's more of his distance. The Woodward was 9 furlongs.
Right.
Had the Woodward gone to 10 furlongs, we might not be saying what we said. I have an image of this guy who I am so awed by as one of the greats, of simply going down the backstretch, and I realize I'm imparting things to him, and I have to be reminded that he's simply a thoroughbred racehorse. But I have an image of him going down the backstretch, looking across the infield, spotting the wire, and almost measuring to the stride what he simply had to do as he picks off his rivals one by one. He let horses go by him for a chance. This is really a magnificent racehorse. This is the earning successor to Cigar, John Henry, Affirm, Kelso Citation, and Whirlaway, all of whom won the Gold Cup. All Robbie does is shake the reins a few times. This is strictly on his own courage. This is what it means to be along for the ride. I'm sorry only 8,600 people were here to watch this in person, but we really can't talk about that. Just one note about Mambo in Seattle. We interviewed Neil last week. I thought this was a very strange trip for him with a bunch of erratic moves in there. I don't know what that means. Maybe he didn't like it. But for me, this performance, this performance for me clinches Horse of the Year for 2009. I'm clinched, okay? I don't care what happens on Breeders' Cup Day. I am looking at a horse who's won the Dubai World Cup, the Foster, the Woodward, the Cole Cup. He is simply the best horse in training. It doesn't matter to me. This is the racehorse of America. I thought I'd startle you with that.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here.
Play it.
Because, and it's only my opinion, if Curlin and Big Brown were to meet on a normal, old-fashioned dirt track, I would be very confident in Curlin in the Breeders' Cup Classic. But this is unknown territory. If, and folks, this is still an if Curlin goes to the Breeders' Cup Classic, as does Big Brown, and Big Brown beats him, I got to tell you.
You're not playing devil's advocate for me, because I'm actually thinking along your lines. I'm simply coming out at the different end. If we were racing on a normal dirt court, I never would have set track. I never would have said what I just said. I just have to disregard this classic. I really do. It is the classic. It's synthetic. And by the way, I'm with you. I'm not sure Curlin's going to run. This is too much of an accomplishment. That's all there is to it. You're asking me to say, is the Derby and Classic better than this run? No, it isn't to me.
Well,
that's me.
This is a little bit special to me because I was very fortunate to have seen Curlin a year ago in his debut at Gulfstream Park. And I remember walking into the paddock and seeing Helen Pitts, and I remember my reaction. Oh my God, what is that? He just towered over the other horses. Physically, he was amazing. And of course, he went out that day and won by a pole, although he bore out to the middle of the track. Now, I told you this before. There's no possible way, even after that brilliant performance, that I thought he was going to be competing in all the Triple Crown races.
Yeah.
And he would become this type of racehorse. But it was very special for me to have seen him in his very first start.
Good, absolutely.
And now
You're a horse
$10 million
racing fan.
later, what a special racehorse. They didn't let too much grass grow under his feet after the Jockey Club Gold Cup. The next morning, he's flown to Santa Anita.
That's exactly the right move to make.
This is amazing. And there he is getting off the van with assistant trainer Scott Blasi. I don't ever remember anything quite like this.
I don't think so. I mean, there would be no necessary, because almost everywhere else the Cup would be held, it'd be a racetrack that he was familiar with, because it'd be Churchill or Belmont Park. But, you know, they've got to find out how he responds to this right away. And, you know, and that's just the way I look at it. I think it's a very, very smart move, but I don't consider it a given that he's going to run the Classic.
I agree 100%.
I really don't.
A couple of other fascinating things here. we have the Curlin and Big Brown camps taking the exact opposite tact in preparing their horses for possible runs in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Let's get Curlin out there. Let's get him acclimated to the racetrack and the surroundings, because you might recall in past interviews we did with Steve Asmussen, he has always talked about how Curlin is such a bright, intelligent horse. It takes him some time because he realizes he's in a different spot. And he also said something that Curlin usually runs better second time at a venue. Well, this will be his first time at Santa Anita, first time over synthetic. But here he is. They hustle Curlin out there to get him acclimated, while back here at Aqueduct, Rick Dutrow working with Big Brown and giving him slow workouts either at the Aqueduct main track or when NYRA will allow over the turf course. So two top trainers, two of the best racehorses in the world.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
Opposite approaches to the same
obviously,
race.
Rick Dutrow knows his horse.
Oh,
I mean, look at what he's done with him, throughout the whole season. But I would also throw this out, too, to keep in mind that some time ago, Jess Jackson talked about his desire to go to Asia with horse.
Yes.
Well, he's already halfway there now. That's an important thing as far as how you might deal with that as well. But I think going there right after is a very, very good move.
But I thought it was an awfully well-measured three-quarter line victory in the Gold Cup and a repeat victory. How many horses? 9 horses? Was he the 9th?
I didn't count. I mean, it's more than you might think, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, the other major race for the Breeders' Cup Classic took place at Santa Anita. That was the Goodwood, where the favorite was number 7, Well Armed, a bang-up second in the Pacific Classic. And folks, the Pacific Classic was 1.25 miles. It is my opinion, and it's a pretty strong opinion, that Well Armed is a bit better at 9 furlongs than he is at 10. As you pay attention to Well Armed in the WinStar White and Black, the 17-10 favorite, when they get to about the 5/16 pole, I thought he was in a drive. I mean, I thought he was in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
But in the end, he's going to score a handy 1-length win over who else? My partner's boy, Tiago, number 8 in the Goodwood. So it was a formful Goodwood as the favorite and second choice ran 1-2.
Yeah, they did, and this is kind of a WinStar's going into the Classic with a couple of good horses, and they've also got Colonel John here, of course. This is an older pace setter. Colonel John's kind of the younger stalker, if you will. He emerges best from this pack. I happen to agree with Mark. In fact, the note I wrote to myself is I question his ability in top company at 10 furlongs, but he is home. He's on a track that he likes. All of this has to be taken into consideration on Breeders' Cup Day in the Classic. He was 3rd in the Dubai World Cup. He's one of a long list of horses, good horses, that could not handle Curlin. He was beaten about 8 lengths by him. Once again, we're talking about Sire Tisnow. For heaven's sakes, Colonel John in recent weeks, Tough Tis Assist, winner of the Grade 1 Ruffian.
Sure.
His name seems to come up here for a Grade 1 race once every week or once every other week. My guy, I thought, needed this race desperately in his return. I still don't know what his best running style is. I asked John Sheriffs about that. I think he's going to improve. I think Sheriff's this is a prep. Pretty good return to the prep. I don't know what to make of it for my guy, but I will spend a couple dollars with him in the hopes of it on the big day.
Of course.
He's home.
So Tiago will be the wise guy horse in the Breeders' Cup.
I already made him that. Absolutely.
No,
why not?
But you know what? Well Armed is an honest, hard-running racehorse.
He sure is.
He likes synthetic. Look, I know he wanted 1.25 miles in Europe, but it was a maiden race at Lingfield, who he was running against. He is a bit better at 1.125 miles, but I'll tell you what, Owen Hardy's got him on top of his game.
He's coming in with a good hand.
The one thing you know from a betting standpoint is he will handle the racetrack, and that's going to be critical for a lot of horses.
Absolutely thing.
Something we're also going to see on Breeders' Cup Day. Many Europeans, in fact, this is going to hurt the Breeders' Cup Mile and the Breeders' Cup Turf, because European trainers of very high-quality grass horses are going to try the Classic. Well, they did that with Spirit One, the winner of the Arlington Million. Spirit One had run all of his races on turf. He's $1 million winner. All of his races on turf. They said, well, since the Breeders' Cup is going to be on synthetic, we're going to run him in the Goodwood. And he ran 5th. you know, in a mediocre edition of the Goodwood. You're going to see that a lot with European horses, and you're probably going to see it with Casino Drive as well. Last night they ran the Meadowlands Cup. I don't believe this will have any bearing on the Breeders' Cup, but the Rick Dutrow trained Arson squad, who hated synthetic in California, couldn't beat anybody, won the Meadowlands Cup under Edgar Prado. Anak Nakal was a suck-up second, no factor, but did get second money. And a Timber Reserve, who was the pace setter, under pressure most of the way, just missed second, ran third in last night's Meadowlands Cup. All right, we are up to our first break on this morning's October 4th edition of the program. Thank you so much for having joined us. When Michael and I return, fillies and mares in the spotlight. We'll take a look at the Beldame and the Lady Secret, and we will welcome in Hall of Famer Mike Smith for the first of his two-part interview. So all of that and much more coming up right after these messages.
This is the OTB Television Network.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. Mike VIETCH to my left, I'm Mark CUSANO. This segment will feature the females and will begin in New York, again over a sealed, sloppy track. 4 filly field in the Grade 1 Beldame, and the favorite #1 Ginger Punch, winner of 4 in a row. In fact, she's been the odds-on favorite in each of her last 6 starts. She's going to break very, very well under Rafael Bejarano and is going to come under pressure almost immediately from #2, Lemon Drop Mom. Cocoa Beach, #3 in the Godolphin Silks, right now is last, but sitting under a comfortable hold under Ramon Dominguez. Ginger Punch is going to face pressure much of this journey. She's going to shake off Lemon Drop Mom, but Cocoa Beach, who showed up at Saratoga toward the end of August for the first time in this country and looked very, very good against lesser competition, is going to pull a bit of an upset here in the Beldame as she's going to rally for a half-length score. Now, a couple of things about Ginger Punch. Bobby Frankel wasn't making excuses, and he wasn't upset at Rafael Bejarano because Rafael did what he had to do. But Bobby said he thinks Ginger Punch is better with a target to run at, and I tend to agree with him. And Jan Rushton brought up something that I thought was fascinating in the paddock, Michael, before the race.
Yes, I did.
She said this mare was starting to grow a winter coat. But here she is. She's going to repel Lemon Drop Mom, but Lemon Drop Mom softened her up just enough for Cocoa Beach to run her down.
I'm inclined to pay attention to what Bobby Frankel said about her, because I found this fascinating. I like Cocoa Beach. I put a couple of dollars on her. I wanted some action in this race. I thought she'd run good off the Saratoga race, and if you watch kind of the Godolphin people and the way they do things, you know, they don't really ask a whole lot the first race back, so I thought there was some gas in the tank. If you said to me, can she prevail over this gal head-to-head, I would have said absolutely not. Ginger Punch is too good. But back to the Frankel comment, because to me, this game is just endlessly interesting, okay? We watched Ginger Punch at Saratoga, And on both occasions, she had trouble. After the first one, we said, my God, what a courageous effort. After the second one, the same way. Here we are, Mark. There's 4 horses at wide open Belmont Park, not a straw in her path.
That's right.
She doesn't get the job done. I love this game.
That's right.
It's so fascinating. You just can't figure it out. So that's what's interesting about racing. Never did I think it would end that way. But Frankel's comment struck with me about that, because maybe she likes being hustled and pinched and kicked a little bit. I really don't know. But it was a fun race to watch.
The one thing about Bobby Frankel is, you know, he doesn't make excuses.
No, he does not.
He wins enough races. He doesn't have to make excuses. I think she is a little bit better. But the way the race set up, and let's face it, again, I think for the most part, racetrack helped carry speed. I didn't think she was going to get run down. It appears right now they will go to the distaff with Ginger Punch, and Godolphin is now thinking about adding Cocoa Beach to the mix. They've already got Music Note, and they might have Little Belle after the Spinster.
That's right.
So Cocoa Beach may have run her way into the distaff. Now, at Santa Anita, a race named for one of my all-time favorites, featuring a filly who I absolutely love. This is the Lady's Secret. And just like the Belle Dame, a 4-filly field. Pay attention to number 4, Zenyatta. She will walk out of the gate. She can do anything she wants as far as I'm concerned. But a lot of folks felt that she might be up against it this day for these reasons. Hysterical Lady right now is in front. Hysterical Lady has never been better in her life. She killed him in the Delaware Handicap, and she murdered him in the Molly Pitcher. I mean, she was great. Now, granted, she's never won on synthetic, but she's also never been this good. And the fractions here are 24-1 and 48-1. So she's controlling the pace under Garrett Gomez. And last at the top of your screen, just galloping along, is the unbeaten Zenyatta. Zenyatta is going to have to move a bit earlier than normal to get into a position. No problem whatsoever. She's going to gallop away and win her 8th in a row by 3.5 with her ears pricked. And I truly believe that this is one of the very, very special fillies that we have seen in the modern era.
I'm going to have to make you read my column on that sometime down the ride, but I will say this. I thought in its own way and in her own way, this is almost as imposing as Curlin in the Jockey Club, and I mean that very seriously, because she did do what is commonly thought to be one of the hard things to do in racing. In a short field with quality speed, somebody's got to run down that lone quality speed. It's not even a contest of running it down. She's this good. She crept up closer, somewhat like Curlin. I think I've got to be here, so I'm going to go up here and do this, and got in the race a little earlier. She's so much better than a very good horse here in Hysterical Lady. She did the right thing. She's just a marvelous, marvelous filly. And just a reminder, you know, there's no female on the scene like her today. It's a half-sister to Millionaire and Grade 1 winner, Balance, from the family of Kentucky Oaks winner, Sweet Alliance. I don't know what they're going to do next year. I would like to see more races on dirt, but take nothing away from this gal. She is really wonderful.
The mile and a 16th in a minute 40 and 1/5 in a gallop. The last 2.5 furlongs in 28 and 4 with her ears pricked. She is ridden by Hall of Fame jockey Mike Smith. Mike Smith has had a brilliant career, and he has had the good fortune to not only ride some extremely special fillies, such as Azeri, who will be a dead solid cinch as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Agreed.
If that doesn't happen, there should be an investigation.
Well, we've heard your investigation claims for decades here,
Inside
so go ahead,
information.
keep talking.
And Mike has been, he has been the rider for
Sky Beauty,
outstanding
let me
male
throw that
horses,
one in there.
such
Yeah.
as Skip Away,
Yeah, and my guy, Holy
your
Bull.
boy,
Yeah.
Holy Bull. So you might be interested in, you know, how Mike ranks Zenyatta among all of
He
them.
is, I'm not. Just roll it, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I had to sit down, had a chance to sit down and chat with Hall of Famer Mike Smith. Mike, welcome back to Down the Stretch.
Thank you.
Mike, what is it like to ride Zenyatta?
I've been asked that question, as you can imagine, 1,000 times. It's an honor. It's the only thing, only way I can describe it. It just really is. It's just a joy to be involved with something as talented as she is. You know, she's just amazing.
Mike, I noticed, and I don't know if we would qualify this as a quirk or not, but I notice you don't warm her up much before a race. What's that all about?
Well, she warms herself up really on her own, and the more I do with her in the post parade, the more anxious she seems to get, and the less I do, it keeps her calm. And it's her running style anyway. She doesn't need to, warm up a whole lot. I'd get her too much on her toes. She gets so excited during the post parade. She just really wants to. She really wants to get to the gate and run. So if I warm her up, she just gets way too antsy, and I don't like her that way.
Mike, as a confirmed one-run deep closer, you would think she would be at the mercy of the early pace, but that doesn't seem to matter to her, does it?
No, it's almost to her favor, because if you let her stay within, if she's with striking distance, I mean, when she lengthens her stride, it no other seems to compare to it. I mean, it's just amazing. She's beautiful to watch,
Let's talk for a moment specifically about her effort in last Saturday's Lady's Secret. Hysterical Lady comes in at the absolute top of her game. Not much pace in here, yet Zenyatta wins in a gallop with her ears pricked. Talk about this performance, if you would.
Well, it was brilliant. It was certainly one of her best performances. I would mark that up there with the Apple Blossom when she beat Ginger Punch and those mares down there. The first part of the race, what Zenyatta, it's even more, but she's learning how to run now. Before, she'd be off the bridle a lot, going down the backside, and now, man, she seems to grab a hold of you and take you everywhere you need to be. So when I was within, 4 or 5 of them down the backside, I was very confident. I mean, she was just galloping along in a big, beautiful stride, and I knew that she was going to run her race. And I was really concerned going into the far turn. I thought, well, Hysterical Lady's going to try and kick away from me here, so I actually let my mare move before they did. And it just set it up perfect, because then she jumped right on him, and then she was back on cruise control again. I was able just to sit there and then, kick on home.
Was the victory as easy as it appeared?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, it's just amazing how she, those are champion mares she's running with. I know it's not a big field or nothing, but I mean, Hysterical Lady in her own right could run against the boys. I mean, she's beating horses like that with just ease, and I hope I never do have to get to the bottom. I don't think I've ever even come close yet.
Mike, how does she handle the new Pro Ride surface as compared to the other racetracks she's run over?
She handled this surface probably best of all the synthetics that she's run on, which is another big plus. I was really concerned about that, wanted to see what she would do on it. And, man, she seemed to get over it really, really nice. So, and she seemed to handle it better than the other ones she's run on. So I was really happy with that.
Mike, you have ridden some marvelous racehorses in your Hall of Fame career, including the fillies Azeri, who will be a first ballot Hall of Famer and Inside Information, as well as Skipaway and Holy Bull. I'm about to read to our audience a quote from you following the Lady's Secret, and I am quoting about Zenyatta. I wouldn't necessarily even compare her to fillies. I'm really starting to think she might be the best horse I've ever ridden, end quote. Mike, that's saying an awful lot.
Well, I mean, just look at her. She makes you speak that way. You hate to, and saying that, I mean, all those wonderful horses that I was blessed to ride, all in their time they were unbeatable. And she seems to be that right now. She just seems to be unbeatable. But it's kind of harder to keep your mouth shut when you ride her.
Well, Mike, it's been a terrific run thus far. Congratulations on all the successes with Zenyatta, and certainly all the best 3 weeks down the line in the Ladies Classic. And we thank you for having joined us in this segment to talk about the unbeaten Zenyatta.
Thank you, guys.
How about that?
That was nice. I enjoyed that very much.
And you know what's interesting? she's still learning how to run.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been a short career. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's, one of the nice things about Nikki and commentator is years together. At some point early this year, Robbie said to us, or Steve, he's finally figured, stay in the game. It's true what he said. Absolutely. That was a marvelous performance.
She is very, very special. And we are up to our next break on this morning's initial October edition of Down the Stretch. As soon as the calendar flipped to October, it got pretty chilly, I'll tell you. When Michael and I return, many more races to recap. We're going to go to the proper surface for the Joe Hirsch and the Clement Hirsch and the Flower Bowl and the Yellow Ribbon, and we'll take a look at top sprinters as well. As we go to this break, the Oak Tree Breeders' Cup Mile at 8 furlongs on the proper surface. The favorite was Hyperbaric. I thought these were very good performances from both the first and second finishers, but there's something I can't quite buy about the Oak Tree Mile. You take a look. We'll talk about it when we return, and Michael and I will be back with much more right after these messages.
No change, they go into the far turn now. It's still Tropic Storm the leader. Hyperbaric comes to take him on from second. Global Hunter is down at the rail for nearly on the far side, and Golden Balls between them. Then comes Ty Bolt. Alongside of that is Dilemma and Hurry Up Austin. They compact as they come to the top of the lane, and Hyperbaric goes up to take the lead. Garrett Gomez looking for win number 3,000. Hyperbaric takes the lead. Tropic Storm on the inside, battles back and in. Tybolt getting involved late. They come for home. Hyperbaric, Tybolt flying down the center of the track. Hyperbaric, Tybolt, Hyperbaric, 3,000 for Gomez. What a thriller to get it into. Hyperbaric, Tybolt, and Tropic Storm was third ahead of Global Hunter.
This is the OTB Television Network.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. Mike VIETCH to my left. I'm Mark CUSANO. And the Oak Tree Mile goes to Hyperbaric for Julio Kanani and Garrett Gomez, career victory number 3,000, by a neck over Tybolt, who came from Pasadena to get second.
Yeah, all right.
The first half of the Oak Tree Mile was run in 47-4. The last half of the Oak Tree Mile was run in 45-4. How does Tybolt come from Pasadena with a second half in 45-4?
Or a little bit
less.
If,
and this is in, a major if in capital letters. If the teletimer is accurate, Tybolt, who's eligible for non-winners 3 other than allowance company, could be a major factor in the Breeders' Cup Mile. I mean, they both could, but, 45-4 second half. And I'm going to question the teletimer at Santa Anita in a race we're going to look at in just a few moments. All right. The Breeders' Cup Turf and 2 major preps. We're going to begin at Belmont Park over a yielding course with a Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. Grand Couturier, number 6, in between rivals in the purple silks, is going to sit. I love this ride from Alan Garcia. He just sat so patiently with Grand Couturier, and Bobby Robato has done such a wonderful job with him. He's the healthiest he's ever been, and Grand Couturier is going to parlay a perfect patient ride with a yielding turf course into a 10 1/4 length romp in the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic. For handicappers, we will all have to decide if it's the soft courses which have propelled Grand Couturier, or he's simply just this good.
Well, I admit I don't know about the course condition thing with him because he's got some good efforts on firmer ground, but I will say this, Bobby Robato, this poor guy's had more starts and stops the last few years than we can think of. And in some ways, this is sort of a parallel to commentator. He may be the best he's ever been. The trainer's gotten to know him real well. I'm very, very happy for him in this horse. I've always liked this horse. I played him the first several times he ran when he came to this country, purely because of this marvelous pedigree. His son of Chief's Crown is his sire. This is a family of an Alabama winner, the great Vagrancy, a Test Stakes winner. He's now won 2 straight Grade 1s. His dam sire, Sadler's Well, has sired 3 winners of the Breeders' Cup Turf. It's made to order, but Mark raises the point. If he goes west and it's a sun-baked day, I don't know how it's going to do. But the point is the training job by Bobby Robato, by a guy who really was clearly talented when he came here and ran into one problem after another. And I'm very happy about this result.
Calvin Burrell couldn't come to Saratoga this year to ride him, so Alan Garcia picked up the mount. And nothing against Calvin, but I mean, I got to tell you, I love the way this kid fits this horse. And if he can transfer that form to a likely much firmer turf course, because folks, let's face it, he can get 1.5 miles, that's not a problem. But 2:34 4 was 10.5 seconds over the course.
Sure.
Well, so it was, it was literally underwater. We go from 10.5 seconds off a course record to a world record performance as we take a look at the Clement Hirsch. And at the top of your screen, sitting a distant third, is the eventual winner, Red Giant. In closest attendance to the leader is Out of Control. Red Giant, who had made only 1 prior start this year, that a neck victory in the 4-star Dave over a yielding course at Saratoga, is going to collar Out of Control, and Out of Control is going to battle. I mean, Out of Control, I think, was actually edging back at the end, but Red Giant is going to prevail by a head. And ladies and gentlemen, off a 23-2 opening quarter, Red Giant and Out of Control are going to run the 1.25 miles in 1 minute and 57 seconds? You got to be kidding me.
Well,
I mean,
we may be kidding you. I really don't know. I mean, go ahead. You want to say
I
about
don't
the time?
know.
You know,
I have no idea if this teletimer is functioning properly.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Red Giant and Out of Control are very nice wrestlers.
Well,
they just ran 1 minute and 57 seconds.
What
do you think?
I don't know. What I think is this guy, when he broke his maiden back at Aqueduct as a 2-year-old, I thought he was going to be maybe a killer. And he hasn't turned out to be a killer. He had a very good year last year when you're second in the Secretariat, I think, the Shamdan, you know, the French jockey club. You know, I mean, he's a very good horse. Away a long time till the 4-star Dave. And his family is middle distance, Bos Rasham and Hector Protector. A lot of power there. I don't know as much about this as Mark, but 57, wow.
Well, obviously, I don't know very much because I'm not believing it. But I don't believe either Red Giant or Out of Control have ever gone 1.5 miles. But they're certainly entering the Breeders' Cup Turf off, you know, according to time-wise. I can't wait to see those speed figures. Now, fillies and mares in action, getting prepared for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf here in New York. Again, a yielding turf course as we take a look at the Flower Bowl. And in front is Dynaforce, under who else but Alan Garcia. Alan should get a ticket for stealing the Flower Bowl. This is a Grade 1, $600,000 race, and he and Dynaforce are about to go the opening 3 quarters in 1:19 1. Folks, Alan Garcia stole the Flower Bowl. It's as simple as that. Watch the run from number 4, Moralacana. But ladies and gentlemen, after going 3 quarters in 19-1 over a turf course that's underwater, they're going to sprint the last half in 48-1. Now, 48-1 might not sound to you like it's very good, but when the course is underwater, that's incredible.
Absolutely.
But what an unusual final prep to go to Santa Anita, you know, for a firm turf course.
I don't know what to say about the Santa Anita thing, but I do know that she picked a good spot to break her American debut in the Grade 1 Flower Bowl. Inexplicably, she was not very good at Saratoga on better going, so I don't know what to make of that. You know, does she sort of want the lead? She fell into the lead and all that. I really don't know. But, you know, good for her for doing this. One of 6 Grade 1 winners last weekend who raced at Saratoga and did something very well on this great weekend of racing. But was it just the soft? I really don't know. I don't know.
Well, I think it was the controlling
but the way
pace
he did that was certainly wonderful. Absolutely.
I think had an awful lot to do with it. Certainly, Moralacana, the second place finisher, you know, will go on to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. Because, you know, they say there are no guarantees in racing and no guarantees in life. I'm going to guarantee you they're not going to go the first 3 quarters in the Filly and Mare Turf in 1:19-1.
Not on that course. Not on that course.
Now, again, we go from a bog to a very firm turf course at Santa Anita as we take a look at the yellow ribbon. And third on the outside,